Thanks for tuning in to Bloomberg Quinn. We are back to do a real economy check today with a software developer that counts the government amongst its clientele. Joining us now from Pune is the founder, chairman and CEO of SoftTech Engineers, Vijay Gupta. Mr. Gupta, good having you. Thanks much for joining in. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your company, Mr. Gupta? What do you do?
Yeah, so we are a software product company with innovative products into architectural, engineering and construction domain. We have developed a very innovative artificial intelligence oriented product which helps the government in terms of construction permit, and that has really helped the government in terms of uplifting the ease of doing business ranking. You know that you must have heard a lot about the government focus towards improving the ranking of the ease of doing business and construction permits. And we are helping government in a big way, lifting that ranking up.
Okay, a business.
So our solutions are all towards construction automation, construction process automation.
Okay. Well, considering that it is in demand, a business must largely have been picking up. I presume FY18, your turnover was about 50 odd crores. FY19, you've done about 65 odd crores. Is business momentum looking up, or are there issues, Mr. Gupta, right now?
Business momentum is very good because the government focus is towards automation, towards ease of doing business, and towards e-governance especially. So we have a lot of government schemes like digital governance, mobile governance, and this is where we have a great level of opportunity. We are absolute market leader in construction permit solutions, and the government focus towards automation in construction permit is helping us a lot. So besides that, we are into the private sector, automating the real estate industry, and that's where, because of RERA, there is a compliance, and the construction industry is fast moving towards standardizations and improving into the processes. And that's where the digital construction economy is something where we have a leverage on.
Okay. I would have thought, Mr. Gupta, that the nature of your clients, which is architecture, engineering and construction space, with the kind of issues that a large number of companies are facing, the morale of your clients might have been a bit iffy. You don't see that in your conversations with clients, especially in the construction and the real estate business.
Well, if you look at current situation, it is definitely true that the construction industry, or especially the real estate industry, I would say, is on a downturn. But that is probably more because of sector is getting organized. In a long term, I feel that the schemes like RERA would long term, or I would say mid-short term, mid-long term kind of scenario, there the industry would definitely get benefited by way of the schemes introduced by the government. So I foresee a clear picture that industry would, though going on a bad phase at this point of time, would really look into a better picture in an eventual arena.
So how different is the current cycle, Mr. Gupta, for your clients and for you, therefore your business, compared to what you may have seen in the past, maybe 2013 or maybe 2008-9, depending on what you were doing then? Because a lot of companies that we speak to say that the kind of issues that they're facing right now in their business are markedly different from what they had experienced back in 2013 or way back in 2008-9.
Well, so our business, as I said, like say we are market leader in terms of providing government solutions. So because of the government schemes introduced for automation, we are on a hard, we are having a very good business scenario at this point of time. Having said that, there are challenges that the government payments are very slow in nature. There is dependencies on kind of cycle which we have to go through as far as receiving the payments are concerned. So those are the challenges which we face, and when we try to grow our business because of our potentials into this space, we find there is a difficulty in terms of working capital because the government payments are kind of delayed significantly.
Is the delay slightly longer than what you've seen in the past, Mr. Gupta? And I mean, I'm guessing that companies like you would communicating with the clients in order to expedite payments. What's the issue largely?
The issue probably is because of maybe a lot of changes in the officers' ranks, and sometimes the officer who was dealing with is no more into the process of approvals, so there is a delay. Then by itself, the process is delayed, and probably the government has not set up a clear guidelines or accountability in terms of payments being made at time. I believe if this kind of, if government tries to kind of change the policies where payment to the genuine contractors or suppliers should be made at time, it will help a lot to the economy, because the money paid by the government will come into the system, and that will help a lot in the liquidity of the market as a whole.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure the government has the best interest at heart for the MSMEs as well to try and expedite the payments, because who wants a liquidity jam in the first place? Just wondering, what happens in such a scenario to private companies like yours? I mean, do you resort to external borrowing? Have external funding costs gone up compared to what they were? Because a lot of companies also tell us that while RBI has been cutting rates, their cost of funding has gone up. You are a software company, so maybe your borrowings would not be that large, but still.
Yeah, our borrowing fortunately is not that large, but I can say as a general SME experience which I have, currently like the challenge with SMEs is very big in terms of getting the working capitals from the banks, and especially the companies of our size where the entrepreneurs of first generation do not have their own assets to put it to the bank, and banks wants a great level of collaterals to really fund. So this is definitely a challenge where some policies improvements from the government side for maybe being little liberal for the genuine entrepreneurs or genuine businesses to fund from the banks is going to help a lot.
Have funding
So
costs?
I could say in general, yes, it is a true problem for the SMEs.
Yeah, but have funding costs gone up, Mr. Gupta? I would have thought that with the rate cuts coming off, they would have come down. For small and SME companies, have funding costs gone up? For you, have the funding costs gone up? Whatever funding you need?
Funding, yeah, for us, we have a sufficient liquidity in hand. Also, we are a public company. So we have, we raised funds through IPO last year. So we have a good amount of working capital required for the business at this point of time. And then from the banking side, it is almost like kind of standstill at this point of time.
Okay. One last question, Mr. Gupta. One pressing need that you would have, which from the either the regulation side or maybe ease of taxation or something else, which you think will help improve the business sentiment in a meaningful way?
Yeah, regulations should be decided based on size of the business. Unfortunately, the regulations which are applicable to the giants is also applicable to the organizations which are quite tiny in nature for that matter. So it becomes a real difficult scenario if especially the company acts or even the taxations provisions and so and so. Though I'm not an expert onto the tax matters, but I can say there should be some simplicity, some more simplicity for the smaller organizations, because SMEs is the backbone for the economy of the country. And if the government seriously think on simplifying the procedures for them, probably this will help a lot in uplifting the economy as a whole.
Okay, just wondering, since you brought that up, my final question now, Mr. Gupta. You mentioned that what is applicable to large companies or giants is unfortunately applicable to small companies as well. Can you give an example? What is it that you mean by that? Taxation is one thing, or tax filings are one thing that are uniform. What else did you mean when you said that?
The Company Act 13 actually, wherein a lot of compliances need to be addressed to. And this Company Act is quite elaborative, and It needs a lot of compliances which are sometimes irrelevant considering the financial strength of the company. So I think that's where something more attention may be required for simplifications.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gupta, we wish you all the best for business momentum as well as maybe the receivables that should be due, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thanks so much for taking the time out and speaking to us at Bloomberg Quint.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that's SoftTech, software products company from Pune, supplies to engineering, architecture, and construction firms, as also the government companies. And clearly, the pain point for a lot of SMEs seems to be the receivables from the government. If that gets resolved, then maybe a large portion of the pain could get mitigated as well. Thanks for tuning into this broadcast from Bloomberg Quint.